applies to more than Libba.
How did I handle it? The answer is not well. It didn't smell good for a while. I don't know. What was I thinking? It was. I wish that I were one of those writers who could outline and be organized in that way, but clearly, as you've just seen tonight, I can't even organize my thoughts. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. I don't even know where I am. I could. If only I could just do that for a living. So it was very, very difficult. I like Rachel, I love character, and that I always think about one of my favorite writing quotes is from Ray Bradbury. And he said, plot are the footprints left in the snow after your characters have run through. So whenever I get stuck, I just try to remember that. And I try to remember that I'm trying to write something with a beating heart, and maybe with many beating hearts. And sometimes with beating hearts held in the hands of killers. But I'm really trying to get back to that, the very human condition of who are these characters and what do they want. And then things start to kind of take care of themselves a little bit. But in terms of like trying to figure out all the intersections of how these plot lines would come together and these characters would all come together when you're dealing with such a large cast, I would like to introduce you to my amazing editor. Her name is Alvina Ling, and she's right over there.
Because most of the humans are dead.
That's one way to control it.
Yeah. So there's very few people, but there aren't that few people. But there's not a massive cast of characters. I think the problem for me was not the number of people; it was the fact that it's told from three characters' perspectives. So I had to constantly kind of switch my thinking and speak in a different voice, and that's really the difficulty, is kind of speaking in this voice of one character who feels a certain way, and then the next chapter. Because I wrote this the way it's written. I wrote it in a very linear way, so I was switching the three characters, Quinn, B, and Alina, and I was writing Quinn's chapter, B's chapter, Alina's chapter, B, Quinn, and I was kind of so discombobulated writing these different chapters from different characters' perspectives, because, as you know, voice is so important. It's all important, and it's so easy to lose the voice when you go into the next chapter, and you kind of got to walk around a bit and get back into that character's voice and who am I, and that was my difficulty. My difficulty was not really in the cast of characters. There weren't a huge number of characters, plenty, but not huge. Nothing like Libba's cast.
Sure, but doesn't work in music.
Sadly, I can't introduce my editor today because she had a 2-year-old at home who objected to her coming to this tonight. But she is absolutely amazing. She's Lynn Polvino at Clarion, and as you say, bless the editors. I get into a lot of trouble with big casts because I'm kind of obsessed with cities and towns, and when you get really immersed in a place like, I think, is this part of what happens with you? Like, you get stuck in the city and trying to get that time and place, and there's so many different pieces and so many different people who, as the story goes, you discover need to be there. I mean, I met people on page 50 that I just had not conceived of 20 pages earlier, and then, or 3/4 of the way through the book, wait a minute, I need a 5th person in this room, and that means I got to go back to page 10 because that's where that person used to show up. But that's actually part of the fun, because I really love meeting those people, and it's sort of like turning a corner. There's somebody there, and it's like, that's perfect. That's who I need to be there, and then researching their backgrounds. But the thing that I guess makes it easier for me to try and make them all come alive there is in my head, when I write a character and I like them, I file that person away for a story somewhere down the line. So there are characters in this book who are secondary characters who I now have contracted books that involve those characters 50 years before or 30 years later, or that kind of thing. So in my head, once I meet a character that I like, they're never getting away from me. So, and I hope they never try. But so that makes it easier because I get to know them, and right away I start thinking about what can I do with this person down the line. And the more I know about them, the more I can make them feel more like just a smaller main character rather than a secondary or tertiary character wandering through.
Well, the
the editor for this novel was Abby Ranger, who has just left Hyperion. I'm hoping it didn't have anything to do with this novel. But I have a new editor. It's Lisa Yaskovitz, and she is I really work hard to try to keep my cast of characters down to a manageable level. And anytime I can think of a way to combine characters, oh, this guy could do this other thing, and I need somebody to, do this, and what if. But I do have characters like Kate said, who I'll just take a liking to, and they keep pushing their way into more stories. In the Air Chronicles, I had a character named Leisha Middleton, and she just had this, kind of walk-on role in the Warrior Air, bad wizard, bad wizard. But I just loved her attitude and her voice, and so I found something for her to do in the Wizard Air. And then actually she had a pretty major role in the Dragon Air. And now usually if I know a character is going to be ongoing, I take really, well, I don't really take really good notes, but I take some notes. But I didn't realize she was coming back, and so consequently, she had different colored eyes in each book. And that was, of course, pointed out to me by a sharp-eyed reader. When you get that email that says, I'm just wondering, I noticed that, I'm like, that's never good news. So, yeah, the other thing that happens when I'm naming characters is I actually have a character table. This is how nerdy I am with the characters, because what happens is I start naming all my characters alliteratively. So it's Han and Herman and Hope and Hermione, or whatever, and then readers get confused. So I've done 3 H's here. Maybe I better put in a B. So I try to go at it in an organized fashion, but I feel like any character you bring on stage requires care and feeding, and you have to give them things to do and things to say, and sometimes you're like, I can't think of anything for this person to do, and so then you kill them off.
It's actually very true. By the way, I love that Libba's impression of 2 people making out. It sounds like a giant chicken being dismembered. Actually, my editor is Catherine Onder, right there in the back. Say hi, Catherine. I don't think you guys realize how important editors are to us. But as an example of a larger cast, if one of our characters is flagging or isn't seen too much, they might chime in with a little note and say, hey, what's going on with this guy? Or can you give them something to do? And it helps us see the things that we probably wouldn't see on our own. So I think we all have our editors to thank for that. But that's all I have to say about it.
My editor is Julie Tibbett at Houghton Mifflin, who is not here because she had to take her cat to the orthopedist or something. Apparently, but my agent is here, Tina Wexler. hiding now, running out. Oh, there's bye. I deal with my multitude of characters, which ended up swelling as I wrote the series by A, killing them off, and B, office supplies are indispensable. Index cards, whiteboards, highlighters, they're the best. Go to Staples and then write it.
My beautiful editor, Emily Meehan, is back here. She's so dedicated that she's actually branded herself like the girl on the cover back there. I can't stress to you what a seething pile this book would be without her. Assistant editor, Laura Shriver. My joke is that this is my 12th published book, and it's the first one where I had to realize that, oh my God, plot is important. And that's what I really have Emily to thank for many, many things, but especially for helping me with that. She's taught me immeasurable things about pacing, for one thing. Like, I basically will give everything away in the first chapter. And she's been one to be like, there's something called tension, build, and then be resolved. So there's many things, but one of my favorite things that she's done, I talk about building tension, is that when I first produced a very loose outline for the second book in this series, she had all these great notes in it, but then like several times throughout the outline there would just be a note that says, and there needs to be almost sex happening all over the place. Let's remember what's important. Thank you, Emily.